Fantasy Surfer is a great way to get engaged with surfing. If you're not watching World Surf League Tour already, it gives you a great reason to watch it, to get behind some surfers without having to bet money on it. If you're already watching the tour, it increases your engagement in the sense that rather than rooting for one or two surfers, there's going to be surfers on your team who maybe you wouldn't normally root for, and it gets you rooting for them. It's a really good way to add an extra element of enjoyment to the tour without having to put money down betting. It gives you that attachment and support for surfers. So here's how to play. I should add at this stage that this isn't a tips video. If you're already playing, you probably don't need to go through this video. This video really is aimed at complete beginners to the Fantasy Surfer world. So as I say, there's two versions of the Fantasy Surfer. In this video, I'm going to deal with the Fantasy Surfer on the Surfer Mag website. If you want to learn how to play the Fantasy Surfer on the World Surf League's website, please click here. I have a separate video that goes through that in detail. So once you've registered your account on fantasy.surfermag.com, you are greeted by this page. As you'll see, you have your surfers quite clearly underneath that you can choose from. They're all allocated a price bracket based generally on where they are in the world, but not entirely on where their world ranking is. For example, Adrian D'Souza isn't number one at the moment, but it takes into account sort of last year's results and things like that, because otherwise making Matty Wilkinson £12,500 would probably be overvaluing him slightly right now after one result. I don't know how the algorithms work, but they're fairly clever. They usually make it quite difficult to get a load of good surfers, and you end up having to compromise and be quite clever trying to choose your lower down or mid-range surfers. But basically you pick your team by dragging them into the slots. Your salary cap is £50,000, so you can't have surfers totaling more than that, and your team total and the amount left available will change as you continue to drop people in to the requisite slots until you're full. You also finally have this alternate slot. The alternate is it's if your surfer withdraws or is injured before the event, you will rely on your alternate. You're only allowed to use the bottom bracket value for your alternate to prevent any sort of discrepancies and benefits from surfers dropping out. Obviously, if you had like maybe Mick Fanning or something in as your alternate, it might benefit you if one of your lower down guys drops out, so that's why that is. So you drop them in as well. You can change your fantasy team anytime up until the first wave is surfed. If you follow Fantasy Surfer on Twitter, they will tweet when the first wave is normally surfed usually, and that's when trading stops. Then for the rest of the event, you can't change your team. At the end of that event, it'll become open again, and usually they have a little countdown at the top right here, which shows how long until the next event, and that's until the start of the waiting period, not when the trading period ends. Other things to be aware of: after each event, as I say, you can change your surfers out again. Your alternate will always drop out, so you'll need to get back and replace your alternate if you want to. Your other surfers, providing they're not injured or anything, will stay in. And the other thing that's really important to understand is that the values change as the year goes on. So once you've locked in your team, you'd usually press save. I'm going to show you what happens if you press the revert button. It flicks back to the team you had at the end of the last event. So if I click leave page, we'll refresh everything in time back to the team I had at the end of Snapper Rocks. It's quite useful, so you can play around with your team and not worry too much about losing any good value surfers you have. And what I mean by that is that you'll see how John Thorens, Joel Parkinson, Matty Wilco and Caio Belli are in green. That's because I paid less for them in the first event of the year. Their value's now gone up, but I keep them for the value I paid for them. If somebody's value drops, or Julian Wilson's, I'm fairly certain will have dropped given the performance he put in at Gold Coast, I pay the lower price for him, and that's probably where I've got my extra money in my team from, because I was right on the limit, I think, with my final team, and that gives you a bit more room to play and trade with for the next event. There is obviously also a women's team. If you just click the women's tab, brings up the women's league, obviously a lot less service to choose from. On both are the men and the women's. If you go down, you've got your game stats, so your total score, which will continue to go up as the year goes on, your overall rank in the world, and then they will give you a breakdown of event to event and how you've done, where your surf has scored, the percentage of people that picked them, etc. Really helpful to analyse and help you pick the best team you can. Back to the men's team, the other tabs at the top to be aware of. So surfers will show you all the surfers' results. Schedule would show you the tour schedule. Leaderboard shows you fancy results leaderboard. There's clubs, I'll get back to that in a minute. Forums is quite an interesting section. People have discussions about form and things like that, so it's quite useful to keep an eye on there if you really want to put in a good team. Info, if you want to read the actual full rules and prize information, FAQ, etc., all in that section there. I was going to show you the clubs, so if you click on the clubs tab, you can actually make a clubhouse. So rather than just playing by yourself, if you've got friends or family that surf, you can all set up a club. I've got one couple here. I've got Kendall's clubhouse, that's for my family. We're all in that. It's a private one. I also have a Surfing Connoisseur one, so if you want to check that out, that anybody's welcome to join that one. If you subscribe to my channel, it'd be brilliant if you did that, and we can all see who does best by the end of the year. There's no prizes at present, but who knows in future, if we can hook up with some companies or something, that might be quite cool. You can make your own clubs, as I say, just click and create club. It's all fairly self-explanatory. All the point scoring is here, shows you what you get for each event. One thing I think is really important to understand is you don't need to fill all your allocation of slots. You can go in to an event with less than the full 8 surfers, but it's worth noting that even if somebody comes last and places 36th, they get 36 points. So you need to balance that up, that even if you think you're picking someone that's going to come out first, they are going to get you a small points allocation. But if you think by not choosing them and having 7 people in your team, you can have somebody who's going to get you more than 36 points. For example, we're talking maybe if you can put a bottom range surfer in that you know is going to come out in the first round, is it worth doing that, contrasted with the fact that the money that they're taking might enable you to get someone you think is going to get to the quarters? It may well be worth actually going in with 7 people that you think are going to get to the quarters, because that's going to get you more points. Anyway, cheers for watching, guys. As I say, I have another video up to do with the World Surf League's Fancy Surfer, showing you how to play that. Slightly different in how it's done. I have other videos to tips and tricks for the Fancy Surfer, and I put videos up before every event and after every event, giving a bit of a lowdown on who did well and who was good picks, who to look out for, etc. So please subscribe if that's the sort of thing you're interested in. Any comments, anything you think I've missed, put it in the comments below. I'll see you soon. Cheers.